everybody. Good afternoon to the world. Good evening to people of the world. 7 continents: Antarctica, Australia, Asia, Europe, Africa, North America, South America. 7 billion people of the world. Welcome to Atlantic Discuss. I'm still your moderator, and my name remains Ade Balogun. Today, we want to touch on a topic that people hardly talk about. A lot of emphasis have been on the third world, where they are lagging behind, especially the oil-producing part of the third world nation. Nigeria will always remain a focal point, as I said in the past, because it's the black man's largest country, the country with the largest population of people. That is, in the black world, 1 out of every 4 sub-Saharan African is a Nigerian. 1 out of 6 amongst all the black people in the world is a Nigerian. So we want to look at why, as an oil-producing nation, why things are not working, why Norway, Libya, Algeria do have sovereign wealth fund outside their excess crude reserve, why everybody is planning for the future, and not just Nigeria. A lot of sub-Saharan African countries are not faring well. We have a Nigerian who is resident in Namibia, and Namibia, if you want to ask me, is one of the few African countries that seems to be functioning properly. There's no way you talk about functional Africa without talking about Namibia and Botswana. Today we have with us Professor Jude Odiakosa Osakwe. Professor Osakwe, welcome to Atlanta Discuss.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ade.
He's an erudite scholar, so let me introduce you. Introducing him is going to take me a while, so just brace up for it because he's the man for the job. Professor Jude Odiakosa Osakwe lectures in the Faculty of Computing and Informatics at the Namibia University of Science and Technology. Professor Osakwe is the president of the Nigerian community in Namibia, president of the Southern African Union of Nigerian Communities, as the SUNC, comprising 14 Southern African countries, and one of the leaders of the Nigerian diaspora in Africa. While in Nigeria, he carried out his National Youth Service in Benue State, won an award as the overall best youth corps member in the state during his service year. That's fantastic. He was offered automatic employment at Benue State College of Education, OJU, by the Benue State government, where he worked for 17 years and rose through the rank to the position of a senior lecturer before moving to Namibia. While at Benue State College of Education, OJU, he held several positions such as coordinator computer unit, head of department, computer science director, Directorate of Information and Communication Technology, and coordinator joint admission and matriculation of the College of Education, OJU Center. He was also a member of the college academic board, head of IT, international training, lingua, Windhoek, an examiner for 5 universities, and a visiting lecturer at the National Open University of Nigeria. Don't worry, I'm not done yet. I'm just catching the surface. Professor Osakwe was the first person to introduce computer education in OJU local government area of Benue State, where organized computer literacy programs for primary and secondary school learners. Yeah, Professor Osakwe holds a Bachelor of Science honors degree in statistics, a postgraduate diploma in science educational technology, a Master of Science degree in information technology, and a PhD in informatics. He also holds a postgraduate certificate in data visualization, a postgraduate certificate in project management, a postgraduate certificate in business intelligence, management and strategy, and a certificate in big data modeling management. He was also a member of the Nigerian Computer Society and a professional member of Association of Computer Machinery. Now, in conclusion, working with Nigeria High Commission in Namibia, he has championed the cause of Nigerians living, schooling, and doing business in Namibia. Over the years, established a language school for Nigerian children where they were taught the 3 major Nigerian languages. Professor Osakwe also initiated and started the Nigerian Day celebration, which brings Nigerians from different regions together. Professor Osakwe is a researcher and author and has published over 50 articles, conference papers in reputable international journals, and conference proceedings. Professor Osakwe was also the organizing chairman of the first international conference on information technology and emerging technology at the Namibia University of Science and Technology. He is a national activist and is married with children. Professor Osakwe, welcome to Atlanta Discuss.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Impressive. We're talking about sovereign wealth fund, and I know you also organized an investment forum in Delta State back then. So the first question I'm going to ask is that what was the basis why you organized that conference, and how successful was it, and has it yielded any dividend? That's the first question to you.
Yes, the investment conference was tagged the Delta State Diaspora Conference. The conference was approved by the then Delta State Governor, or Senator, by the way, Ifeanyi Okowa. He approved the conference, and we decided to go into that conference because we want to see how we can attract investors down to Delta State from the diaspora. You know, they say charity begins at home. So it is always good for you to remember home, even when you are not around, when you are not in your home. So looking at Delta State, I saw that there is need for us to bring in investors to see what they can offer to Delta State in terms of securing investment opportunities for Delta State. Because, you know, Delta State are blessed with natural resources. I know when you say natural resources, everybody look at oil. Yeah, oil is one of them, but there are other areas where we know very well that in Delta State, we can do better, even in agriculture and even iron and steel and all those areas. So that was why we decided to see how we can bring in investors to Delta State for them to look at what we have, discuss with the locals, and see how they can partner or collaborate to forge a kind of a force for Delta State. Yes, it was successful because some investors came down to Delta State. Unfortunately, the period when the conference was organized was the period where we have this COVID-19, but that didn't really stop the conference from taking place, and that did not also stop the investors from looking at Delta State and what Delta State had to offer. The government of Delta State then really gave us the support because they were active participants in the conference. So it was a very successful one. And very soon, we are also going to be organizing another conference for Delta State, not just only for Delta State, but also for diasporans. Yeah.
Impressive. You know why I really appreciate what you did is that, I mean, you're trying to, because the most strategic investment forum or quota for any country in the world is their diaspora contingent, especially for third world. We all know how the Filipinos, the Philippines, the Indians have really, you know, even the Bangladeshis, they really leveraged on this, and it has really materialized a lot for them. And most Indians, you know, whichever country they are domiciled in, they try and influence the policy of that country to favor their country of residence. They try those domiciled in the United States and any of these G7 top countries. So I think what you have done is laudable, and I'm not surprised. I mean, considering your resume, and I think you're just scratching the surface. There's still a lot you're going to give. So now, how do you actually establish a sovereign wealth fund? You know, and what are the challenges? You know, that's the next thing I'm asking. And I also want to know the objectives of having a sovereign wealth fund, and does it pay tax? I mean, that's like 4 questions lumped into one, but I know you can handle it, because I know Norway has probably over $1 trillion in sovereign wealth fund. I know Saudi Arabia has around about the same figure. I don't know what Libya has now, but I know before Gaddafi died, they had a very, very large amount of money. I also know that sovereign wealth fund, I know it's different from your foreign reserve, because I also know a lot of oil producing countries peg whatever comes in from oil at $40. Then from 41 to 50, they put in their, maybe their foreign reserve or something. Anything above 60, they put in their sovereign wealth fund planning for future. So the question is, how do you establish a sovereign wealth fund, and what are the challenges? What are the objectives really? And does it pay tax? Over to you, Prof.
Yeah, before you go into talking about how to establish a sovereign wealth fund, first of all, we must talk about what sovereign wealth fund is all about. Because if you don't know what sovereign wealth fund is, it will be very difficult for you to know how to establish it. So when we look at sovereign wealth fund, we say that it is a state-owned investment. Investment in the sense that government of a nation use it to accumulate wealth, accumulate funds, which they can also invest for the growth or development of that particular country. When we talk about sovereign wealth fund, we are also looking at where we can get these sources, where we can get this fund. Because you cannot just wake up one day and say, I want to accumulate wealth, I want to accumulate money for a particular nation. We start putting into consideration where this wealth is coming from, the sources of this wealth. So generally, there are some sources when we talk about accumulating this fund. One of them could be from natural resources of a country, because first of all, a country must have to look at its natural resources, because government of countries, they play a role in getting these natural resources and using it as an investment for that particular nation. So the thing there now is, what are they getting from their natural resources? Is it enough for them to have a wealth fund from that particular resources they get from that particular country? Another area is the foreign reserves. It is also very important to see how a country can use its foreign reserve for the wealth or that fund for that particular country. And then we also look at the budget surplus. It is another way where government can save for a country. So it is good for us to know that for you to have a sovereign wealth fund, you must have a source where you can get this fund that you can use for maybe investment, particularly, because some countries, they invest this fund for the benefit of their citizenry. So the question is, where is the fund coming from? How are you going to invest this fund? Like when you were introducing the sovereign wealth fund, you mentioned Norway, you mentioned Libya. We still have China, we have Singapore, and I will also mention Venezuela, though it didn't really work out for Venezuela. Like for Norway, we have what we call the pension fund, I think the global pension fund or something, where they also have that fund, which they also use, or they use for their investment. And then we have Venezuela. I just want to use the two. I don't want to come to Nigeria now. I want to use Norway and Venezuela. So Venezuela, it failed. Why did it fail? It failed because of misappropriation of funds. That is one thing. And that is one problem that is really bedeviling this kind of thing happening in Nigeria. Misappropriation of funds. And we also have over-dependence of one source of natural resources, which is oil. So those were the things that made it fail in Venezuela. But in Norway, it was successful because they were able to manage what they have. They managed it and it worked for them. So one thing we must put into consideration before we start talking about sovereign wealth fund is, what do we want to do with it? Is there transparency? Will there be accountability? Because those two are very, very much important when you talk about having a sovereign wealth fund. There must be transparency and there must be accountability. And for you now to establish a sovereign wealth fund, you must first of all talk about the legal framework. It is very, very much important for you to have a good legal framework for you to be able to say that a country is establishing a sovereign wealth fund, because you must be able to create a robust legal regulatory framework which will guide whatever that particular country is doing. The framework will have to be a well-structured one that will be able to ensure transparency and accountability, so that the nation will now be able to monitor whatever wealth they have in that particular fund. So that is one particular area that is usually considered when we talk about the sovereign wealth fund. So another area that one must look at when you are trying to establish a sovereign wealth fund is the investment mandate. Because most countries, they invest what they have. Is a nation that wants to have a sovereign wealth fund, are they ready to invest? If they are ready to invest, what kind of investment are they going to invest in? Because it is very important. That is why it is good to have people. I usually, like when I'm in the class, when I'm teaching, I usually tell them that it is good to have square pegs in square holes or round pegs in round holes. So it's very, very much important for one to have that knowledge of what you are going to invest in. So if a country wants to go into having a sovereign wealth fund, they must think about the legal framework. It is very important. And they must also look at the kind of investment they are going to put that fund, so that they will be able to know how to manage the fund. So if we talk about tax, yeah, it is complicated. Complicated in the sense that there are some kind of investments that you can do with your fund that has tax waivers. There are some investments we can do also that may not have tax waivers. That is where you are trying to invest overseas, not in your country. Because if you are investing within your country, as a government, you have the power to know if you want to waive tax for this particular investment you want to carry out. But if you are investing in a different country, you are under a different jurisdiction. So it is left for them to know if there should be tax waiver for your fund or not. So these are the things that one must consider when you are trying to have that sovereign wealth fund. You must also take political issues into consideration. That is very much important. So you must look at public perceptions on what you want to do. I remember very well when Jonathan wanted to start such a project. What happened? The governors rejected it. That the money or the fund, whatever they have in their reserve, should be shared amongst the states. I tell you, maybe if we had that fund at that time, maybe we would have put it to good use, or maybe politicians may have also squandered it. But that notwithstanding, sovereign wealth fund is very, very much important for a nation to have. But the main issue here is how are they going to manage it? Will it be managed very well? Corruption is one thing that usually bedevils such kind of projects in a nation. So those are the things that should be looked into before we talk about having a sovereign wealth fund.
Interesting. Impressive, actually. Impressive is the word. You know, recently, I think was it JP Morgan that said that Nigerian foreign reserve is actually 3.5 or 3.7 billion, whereas on paper, what we're told it was 30-something billion. We discovered that a lot of the debts, or a lot of the loan that the country took in the last 8 years, the foreign reserve was used to leverage some of this money. And today we also discovered that the country is almost bankrupt because right now, in about 95% of all incomes are being used to service debt, just service debt. And, you know, so my question is, if we are saturated with so much debt, our foreign reserve, which is supposed to be what should balance the number of import and export we can, I don't even think that should hold us for a month or two. So that shows that we're actually in an economic situation that's really, really terrible, pathetic, should be the word. So now I'm asking you now, Prof, how can Nigeria navigate itself out of the current economic quagmire? What are the actions that need to be taken, you know?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Nigeria, I don't know where to start from now. When we talk about Nigeria coming out from this economic quagmire, as you call it, which I also agree with you. If we look at Nigeria holistically, first of all, let us look at the political landscape. With what we have on ground, are we sure we are going to extricate ourselves from these economic problems that is bedeviling the country? We look at the political landscape. We look at also the mindset of Nigerians when it comes to the economy. These are the things we must also consider. That notwithstanding, I have a very big belief or hope that Nigeria will be able to come out from whatever economic problem we have. First thing I feel that Nigeria should do as a nation is to diversify the economy. Overdependence on one source of resources is one problem that is really killing the country. A situation where we all depend on oil. I remember there was a time we talked about the groundnut pyramids around the 1970s or so. Talk about groundnut pyramids. Where are they now? We don't have pyramids now. What we have, I can say that what we have now, I will call them ant hills now because we don't have pyramids anymore. You understand? So if you look at it critically, we should look at what we should do with what we have. Nigeria is blessed in natural resources. But what we have few people benefiting from it, trying to amass this wealth for themselves. The government is not doing much. Well, let's say that we have a new government now, and we are watching to see what will happen, not minding the fact that there are so many issues surrounding the government at this moment. But we have a new government. First, we should diversify. We have agriculture, we have oil, which everybody is moving to. We have the mining sector. Nigeria produces the best people, best educationists. How are we making use of them? There's brain drain. How are we going to bring them back for us to be able to give Nigerians within the country good education? Because when we have good education in the country, we'll be able to now start talking about entrepreneurship and having innovation. But the question is, even those that are creative in the country, how is government helping them? These are the things we should also be able to ask ourselves, because the economy can grow if the citizens are developed. If the citizens are not developed and the country is not diversifying, there is no way that country can grow, because there's strength in education. So the educational system should also be looked into for us to also talk about growth of the Nigerian economy. Now, we should also see how we can focus on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, because that is where the world is going now. I'm not saying that maybe because I am in the technology field, no, but if you look at what is happening globally now, science education, technology education, engineering education, mathematics education is taking over most of the things we are doing globally. So where does Nigeria stand in this fair? So these are the questions. So for us to get it right, we must look at these areas and see how we can put them together. Diversification of the economy, promotion of entrepreneurship and innovation is very, very much important. Then we will also look at how we can attract foreign investors, foreign investment. Like you mentioned when we started, I organized an investment conference. And the reason why I organized that investment conference is to see how we can drag or attract investors into the country. Believe you me, we were able to attract, but we still had problem of convincing some investors to come to Nigeria. Why? Because of security situation. So that is another area that Nigeria should see how they can tackle if we really want the economy to grow. So if we're able to put all these things together, I think we'll go a long way as a nation to make Nigeria stronger than where we are today.
Do you think Nigeria is a failed state?
No, I don't believe that. Why I say I don't believe that is because even as we speak, investors are still trooping into the country. If Nigeria is a failed state, why are people still going to Nigeria to invest? People are still trooping.
Yeah, but people go to Somalia, where there are investors in Somalia, there are investors in Iraq, even in war-torn countries, there are unwritten rules, there's still commerce and all that, So, I mean, I'm not trying to say Nigeria is a failed state. I'm just trying, because you said that people are still trooping in. Nigeria is a country of 200 million. Essential services will always thrive. You understand?
Yes.
People that, the breweries will not leave, the people selling beer. Well, some of them have, but majority will not, because people will drink beer. The medical, pharmaceutical industry, even though some have left, but more than half will not leave because there's a market for it. There are 200 million people that need injection, that need to eat, that need to drink. You understand? So that explains that. So why I ask the question really is that, I mean, it's clear to me and you that Nigeria is way behind schedule. You have even said it that this is a way out of the quagmire, stability. And you also said security was the biggest hurdle that we have, So, which takes us to the next question. You've heard, everybody heard that the president had some issues related with his certificate and all that. I don't have to go into details, but do you think this issue will affect foreign direct investment to Nigeria? And if yes, how?
Well, I'll answer the question in two ways.
Feel free.
I will not answer. First of all, you said, will it affect foreign direct investment? Another one is if yes, which means there is also a no somewhere. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, clearly.
Okay. So I will not generally say that it will affect foreign direct investment, but yeah, it can slow it down in a way. It can slow it down, yes, because there is an issue of trust where you have people at the helm of affairs that there is this burden of integrity hanging over them. You want to do business with them, you will be skeptical because you'll be thinking, people I'm coming to do business with, are they trustworthy? That is one thing you must also consider. But you must also consider the fact that, not minding the fact that there is this leadership crisis. Like I told you that Nigeria is not a failed state. There could be leadership crisis, yes, but there are some people that believe that we'll still have people or business people with integrity in the country. So let me give an example. I think that will help explain what I'm talking about. There is this investor I was talking with. We're just having an interaction. He's an Indian. When I was discussing with him, what he told me was, if you meet the right people in Nigeria, you will do well. It is only when you don't meet the right people that you start having problems. He told me about his investment.
I agree with that.
Yeah. He told me about his investment in the country. He told me he has investment in Kano. He has investment in Lagos. He has investment in, I think it's Akwa Ibom, somewhere there. This is somebody from India. And he says he enjoys Nigeria because he enjoys and interacts with people of like minds. You get it now? So not minding the fact that we are passing through a phase in the country. Believe you me, there are some people in that particular country that are still very trustworthy that you can do business with. So let me also give an example. We're talking about the certificate issue in the country now, and it has to do with integrity, where the number one person in the country is being accused. I will not say that he forged, because there's no competent court in our country has not proven him guilty. You get it? Though in the United States, we've heard various stories. I will not say I don't believe them, because I know what is happening everywhere. And we all know what is happening. All we are waiting for is for the judgment to come. But that notwithstanding, the hierarchy is having a problem. And because of that, you will see that some people may want to wait to see how this thing plays out before they will come into the country for investment. But so there are some people again that will look at it and say, this is how it is in the country. No matter how it is, we can still go there and do business. And when we are doing this business, we should do business with those that has integrity. Now, coming to this certificate issue, I really blame the system. That's my own view, my own opinion. I blame the system because we don't have a system that checks these things. Let me take Namibia as an example. There is an agency in Namibia called the Namibian Qualification Authority. Any foreign document, any foreign qualification that comes into the country is verified. How is it verified? When you want to apply for admission in any university in Namibia, the Qualification Authority takes it upon herself to verify that result in the country where you got that particular certificate before you are even admitted in the university. We don't have that system in the country. For example, now, let's take INEC. You submit your document, and there is a verification system. Immediately, this thing can be noticed, and then INEC will take a decision on it. But unfortunately, we don't have such verification system. So you see that there is a systemic problem. I don't want to call it a systemic failure, but there is a problem within the system that needs to be tackled for us to get it right. So there are so many things we need to do. But unfortunately, the political class we have in the country thrives on these problems that we have to make sure that they get what they want. So I will not want to believe, one, that Nigeria is a failed state. Number two, I will not want to believe that investors or foreign or direct, what kind of investment cannot come into the country because of what we have. But unfortunately, I will say that the problem will slow down investment in the country because there is this integrity problem that is hovering around the country at the moment.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are still on Atlanta Discuss, and we're talking to Professor Jude Odiakosa-Sakwe. He's a master's holder, PhD holder, he's a cybersecurity expert. He has a diploma in science and educational technology. He's big on project management, informatics, visualization, and everything. So we're still going to talk about your specialty. That's in the area of engineering, computer science, and what have you. So to our viewers, we are still on Atlantic Discourse. My name still remains Ade Balogun. Here at Atlantic Discourse, we embrace all facets of humanity to disseminate positive news in a world filled with a lot of bad news. We give a voice to the unheard always. We try and balance the information equation. We search and discuss the facts wherever it leads. We combine the best of the human race to get the best out of mankind. We serve as a bridge between the developing and the developed world. We embrace business, IT, sports, health, history, and faith-based issues. We don't shy away from the fact. And when we need the fact, we always go to the best to give us the fact. That's why we have Professor Jude Odiakosa-Osakwe. He's there in Windhoek in Namibia. And, Prof said earlier on that the politicians are the one mismanaging the country. He also said, well, he always tell his student when he's lecturing that you have to put square pegs in square hole. In my opinion, Prof, we are supposed to be one of the square pegs in some square hole in Nigeria, or rather a round-shaped object in a round hole in Nigeria. Because it's clear to me you are helping develop Namibia and you left motherland Nigeria there. But I don't blame you also, because it does look like the system does not accommodate the best. And I've always told people that one of the reasons why Nigeria is acting behind schedule is that we never use our best 11. I'm telling you, we never do. We have seen some flash here and there, but I can tell you categorically that those are actually not the best Nigeria to us. Not even in our football team, when we have seen fantastic players. If you go to Ajegunle, Warri, and all the places
where you have them there. They're all there.
Hey, I'm telling you, so until we start doing that. My question to you now, before we go to your core specialty area is this. In your opinion, what are the indices, the indexes, the parameters for measuring a failed society?
If you ask some people that question, they will have their own parameters. You understand?
Yeah,
so I will say
your
that
parameters.
okay, my parameters. Okay, because
parameters.
I may say something here, and some people will say, no, you are wrong.
No,
but
that's a bit like your parameter. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you talk about a failed state, what I want to say now, where it may cover what is happening in Nigeria, yes, but I still would not want to call it Nigeria a failed state. When there is a serious breakdown of security, when there is serious insecurity in the country, it leads to the citizens not being secured anymore. So things can happen. That is number one. Number two, when the economy is also not really helping matters, in the sense that what we call economy in the country is not really pushing for the growth and development of the country. For example, like I said before, diversity in the economy, when a country is not able to diversify what they have, diversify their own resources for them to make the country grow, it can lead to a country failing. When the educational system is down, it can also lead to a country failing. So if you look at these indices, you will see that Nigeria is already moving towards these indices I've just mentioned. But I tell you, we have not really reached that particular point where you say that Nigeria is a failed state. But that notwithstanding, we must also look at how we can bring ourselves out from this particular slide we are going into before we can say we have come out of moving into failing. So Nigeria is not a failed state. Let me put it there. But
is it on the verge?
But the indices that can lead to a state being called a failed state is glaring. It's glaring, but we have not reached there. One of the reasons why I'm saying this is because you see Nigerians, particularly, let's take the education sector. I am a product of the Nigerian University. Before I came to Namibia and got my PhD in Namibia, but I'm a product of Nigerian University. And even when I was in school, we still had that notion that Nigeria has failed. Nigeria has failed us. But when we came out to this place, we found out that what we learned in Nigeria was really what is really pushing us outside Nigeria, which means that there is still something in that country that is really there that we can hold on to and bring up the country. But the question is, how do we get that thing How do we bring out that thing to make Nigeria great again? So the indices is one, failed education. Second one is insecurity, where you have security apparatus is not working. And the third one is when the economy has failed. So these are my own indices that I can use to say that a country is a failed state.
Based on your indices, none of it is working right now.
Yeah, none of them is work. I can't. Yeah, that's where I'm coming. I agree, and that is like what I said. This is what other people that may watch this particular program will also say. That
I mean,
I
will add health, I will add education, which I think are near comatose also. You understand?
Yeah. Let me come in here. You added health.
Okay, go ahead.
But we still have good medical doctors coming from Nigeria.
They're all living.
Yeah, but they got their training in Nigeria before they left.
Absolutely.
I am not saying that the infrastructure has not failed. It has failed, but it is still bringing out the best. So what we need is to see how we can revitalize. So that's why
I'm not trying to say it's a failed state. What I'm just trying to say is that, for example, you are not a young person. At the time you studied, for example, in Nigeria, you cannot compare the quality of the graduate at that time to the quality of the graduates today. You understand? People that went to school in the 70s and early 80s, maybe even to early 90s, it was still fairly okay. You understand? But right now, it's actually different. Yeah. I mean, I know people that went to some secondary school. I went to grammar school, and compared to, those of us that went to grammar school at that time, King's College, Edo Polo Grammar School, Edo College, Ibadan Grammar School, all those old schools,
Grammar school.
Kind of, CKC Onitsha, Use College, Christ the King College, those old schools, Sadana Memorial College in the north, Barewa College, there's some schools we call a union school in the southwest, led by
They are not the same anymore.
They are not the same anymore. But I know that for me, the quality of education I got when I was in Abeka Grammar School has held me on, even far ahead of what I learned in my university. I say that without fear or favor, because my biology teacher was Ghanaian, my chemistry teacher was Ghanaian, my biology teacher was Filipino. You understand? So, I mean, those things, and we had fantastic culture. It was an Anglican school. So those things are not the same right now. And I'm sure I replicate almost those things on a daily basis, and it has lived with me. So that's why I'm saying that, yes, the standard was good, pre-independence it was, post-independent, probably till the early 90s, you understand? Because right now it's not the same. So I know that something has to give eventually, that's why it's Atlanta Discuss. We discuss. Sometimes I have an opinion, sometimes I just let it go. But
can I say something now? Can I say?
Yeah, please go ahead.
All right, I agree with you. I am not trying to defend the country, because I know the country is really nosediving. Honestly, the country is nosediving.
I'm worried.
I'm worried also, but that is, I'm saying this because of the belief I have in Nigeria. It is nosediving, but it has not crashed.
True.
You understand? It has not crashed. So what we need is a pilot that will stable the flight called Nigeria, and then we will get it right. We are in diaspora, and what we try to do is to see how we can, because we have lived outside Nigeria and we see what happens outside. So the question is, what can we do to replicate what we see out here down there? Unfortunately, if we try it, the political class at times we want to fight it. But for me, I will not give up on my country, because I feel that one day we are going to get it right.
Okay, I have two more questions for you. And the last one is going to be based on statistics and computer and all that. But before that, the one I want to ask you now is about diaspora generally. A lot of diaspora have gone back home. Some have gotten appointments. Some have been elected. You understand? Now, I'm an advocate of, if the diaspora contingent, because I've been doing a lot on diaspora interviews in the last 2 weeks, because I'm a strong advocate of having a common front. That's why I believe very much in what NIDO is doing. Having a common front, dialoguing with government to get Nigeria out of this, what I'll call a morass, this spiraling downward effect, And I think, in my opinion, the diaspora contingent is in the best position to actually rectify it if we get our act together. I think we can. I think we will eventually, but we're not there yet. So my question is, some diasporas have been appointed. Some have actually been elected into the Senate, House of Reps. Some even became governors. Now, it does look like some of them, maybe not all of them, majority of them, when I say majority, I'm talking well over 90%. When they get this appointment, they act sometimes, in some cases, even worse than the people that
was
have been
there
there before. Yeah, so it now goes back to this, that is the diaspora really the solution, or is it that Nigerians are just inherently who we are, dishonest, and if you can't beat them, join them? Do you think diaspora really can ameliorate the situation? Or maybe the approach should be different. That if, for example, the Nigerian Diaspora Organization is dealing directly with the government, and the government, for example, say, yes, we need to have a census, we need a statistician, can you give us somebody that is an erudite scholar in that area? Of course, we're going to call you that, Professor Diakosa is a man for the job. Do you think that should be the way? Or, I mean, you understand what I'm saying? How do we react to that? Because we can't have all these brilliant people doing great things all over the world, and the country is crawling slower than the Armenian tortoise,
Yeah, it calls for sober reflection, particularly for us in the diaspora.
Yeah,
because
it's sobering.
If you see diasporans go back home, and I will use the word misbehave, you feel very bad, because if you want now to talk, somebody will tell you, okay, you are saying diasporans are fighting for this. That person is a diasporan. That person came back from the US, or that person came back from UK or from somewhere and took this position. Look at what he is doing. It seems as if the person that was there before is even doing better than he himself that took that position. So it's something that calls for concern. You get it? So do we now say that there is a spirit that is in that country? I'll call it a political spirit now, that once you enter the country and contest and you take a position, the spirit envelopes you and you start behaving that way. Though it seems that way to me, but I still believe that we still have people that can go down to that country and do better. It all boils down to mindset. You understand? Some people, not minding the fact that they are diasporans, they have their own ambition. They have something they want to do. They could be selfish. They may not even have integrity. So we are not saying that everybody here outside Nigeria have integrity. We have most of them that want to go and contribute their quota. We still have most of them that want to go there and just get what they want and then get out. So the main thing there is, how do we get the best from this? Now, people are leaving the country in droves. Human trafficking, illegal migration, seeking for better opportunities, better things. But unfortunately, these people that are leaving the country, when they leave, they see themselves in a situation where they can't even help themselves. People going through Libya, they want to go to Tunisia, from there to Europe, some down the way. We had issues where a mother and a son died in the desert. There were 3 of them, the mother and 2 kids. Unfortunately, the mother died and the elder kid died, leaving the last child of just a year and a half. We had to rescue that child. The Tunisian Nigerian community in Tunisia, led by the president, rescued that child, took the child to his house, and decided now to take the child back to the family, because the father of that child was still in Libya, but there was no way they could take the child to Libya. So they wanted to take the child to the family. Wow. The problem we had was not even from the International Migration Organization. The problem we have came from the Nigerian government organ in that particular country, making it difficult to send this child home. But luckily, we were able to maneuver our way, get what we needed from them, and we sent the child home. As that child is going, and others that may have the same problem as they are going, people are still coming out of the country looking for better things to do. They don't get it. So for us in diaspora, it is a clarion call that we should also try and see how we can create awareness that it is not all that rosy even when you come out here. It's not that all that rosy. And for us in diaspora, when we also go back to the country, let us see how we can contribute to developing our country. We should see how we can build up the country in any way we can. So it is in two ways: going back there and doing what you're supposed to do, or going back there and then you join the bandwagon. So these are the things we should also talk ourselves into doing the right thing. That was why I said it calls for a sober reflection, where we'll have to reflect basically on ourselves, we in diaspora, and decide on what we really want to do for our country. I think
Do you think culture, do you think culture is part of our problem?
In Nigeria, we have so much problems when it comes to culture. That is, if you mean tribal issues.
Yeah, it's part of it. Right? I think culture.
It's part of it. It's part of it.
Because,
I got an investor.
Sorry to interject you. Sorry, Prof. Sometimes you get a political appointment, you steal money, EFCC will arrest you, they charge you to court. And people from your village, your kit and kin, they will come, wear Ankara, says our son, no, is he the first person that will steal, blah, blah, blah. That they will even tell it's turn by turn Nigeria Limited. When the Fulani man did his own, they didn't arrest him. We are all producing people. We have never benefited from this thing. So what is it? Someone has actually told me that since when did it become a crime to steal in Nigeria when everybody's doing it? You understand?
So that's the problem.
So it's looking like a norm.
Tribalism,
so,
nepotism,
I don't know.
And all of them. I want to let me just say one thing.
I think it's a problem.
Go ahead. Let me just say one thing. There was this investor I took to Nigeria, and he wanted to do business with another Nigerian. I don't want to call the tribes, whatever. So when he interacted with the Nigerian, he now introduced another Nigerian to this Nigerian he wanted to do the business with. But the Nigerian now said, no, I can never do business with this person from this tribe. That is Nigeria. I can never do this because I don't trust them. So there is issue of trust when it comes to tribes. Even within tribes, within kindreds, we also have problems.
There's distrust.
So
I mean, even in the diaspora, if that's what I'm saying, even in diaspora, there's distrust among ethnic.
That is it. So
all right, don't worry. Let's leave Nigerian culture alone. Let's do some science. I mean, after your CV, you're a statistician, you have a degree in IT, information technology, you have a PhD in informatics. So where I really want to delve is on the census, Nigerian census. I do know that any serious-minded country needs to know the exact number of its population. You understand? There have been so many efforts in the past, and the efforts are, even though the one that was done during, I can't remember, was it Obasanjo or somebody? It looked a bit, or Yaradua, it looked a bit tidy, but we were not really convinced about what we get. And let me tell you what I'm asking, I do know, I mean, I didn't study geography, but I've read, geography is something I have a lot of soft spot for. So I read a lot of geography, human geography, physical geography, so because when I was young, I just look at the map of the world. There was no Google, there was no all this thing. So I have a care for it. Yeah. So what I'm asking is, geographically, people that live in the coastal areas are naturally, and everywhere in the world, they are naturally more populated than people that live in the hinterland. Now, it's striking me, like I said, I'm not an authority on it, but I'm just based on what I've said, that it does look like Nigeria is the only country in the world where people that live in the hinterland have more population than people that live in the coast, So the question is, all these census that we're having, coming out with spurious figures that are anti-science, that science can, what do we really have to do to get it right, census-wise, because it's just looking like in fact, we take the United Nations estimate of our population more seriously than
the one we have.
than what we do in-house. What do we really have to do? I really want to hear your view on this. I actually think this is the most important question because I know you're a statistician and you will have done a lot of papers on this.
In Nigeria, there are so many ways we can even know the population of the country without even going through census. That's one thing we must understand. Because in Nigeria, census is politicized. There's no two ways about it. Every region wants to get the highest population in census because they want to attract infrastructure. They
Allocation,
during the election, allocation during the election, they will use that population to rig election and get whatever they want. And then, okay, governors, the political class, they want to get more allocation because they have more population. But that is not really the reason for census. The reason for census is for us to know the accurate number of people in that particular country. That's number one. Number two, to know where we have a certain particular type of people. You understand? Because if you know a certain particular type of people in a particular area, you will know the kind of infrastructure to site in that place. Okay, a situation where you have an area where you have less children, maybe the population of the children are very few, but when the census report comes out, let me just say you have 100 children in this place, but the result came out and you are seeing 5,000 children. What will you want to do? You may say, okay, let us see how we can move or attract industries or companies that produce things for kids to that particular area. And what happens after that? It crashes. So economically, it is wrong to even have fake results coming from census. Like I said, there are so many ways one can even get an estimated number of people in the country. One of this way is for you to have accurate data of birth and death reports in that particular country. There are some countries you go to, every birth is recorded. Every death is recorded. Is it done in Nigeria? It's not done. When somebody dies in a village or whatever, they just go bury. There's no death certificate to show that this person died, unless maybe you want to claim maybe insurance or whatever. There's something to claim. That's when you now start running around looking for person. People will go and forge it to get what they want. You understand? So when you now have an accurate record of accurate data of birth and death, it gives you a picture of how many people are coming into the country or coming alive in the country, or how many people are living. That is one. You get it? Do we have accurate record of, we had this NIN, the National Identification, whatever we did in that country. It is another opportunity where we can be able to know how many people we have in this age bracket. Because when you are doing this registration, you are able to know people that are born in ages like this, people that ages are this. But unfortunately, even when people go there to now capture to get their NIN, they lie. They don't tell their real ages. It becomes a problem. You understand? So there is this structural problem. There's this structural deficiency in the country. So if we're able to have a system that records most of this mortality rate and the rest of them, we'll be able to have a fair idea of the number of people we have in that country. If we look at, I usually use Namibia, yes, because I live here. They have record. I already carried out a research on death and birth rates in Namibia. You understand? So they have their own record. They have their record. If somebody is born today, you're already giving your certificate, and it is already recorded in the system. When you die, it's already recorded. You can't even go and bury someone if you don't have the certificate. You get it? So that alone gives them records of people that are living and people that are coming into life, into the country. So they also have their own IDs. Everybody in the country, they have their ID. So it is another point where you can use that ID to track the number of people in your country, both the foreigners and the citizens. So with that, you'll be able to know your population in that country. So census, yes, is part of it. But when you have these things in place and they are working, it gives you a kind of a view of what you should be expecting when you carry out that census. But unfortunately, these things don't happen in Nigeria. So when census is carried out, you see people coming with bogus results. And we don't have option than to accept what results that come from that census.
Fantastic. Yes, I've been talking to Professor Jude Odiakosa or Sakwe. Yes, the man, the statistician, the informatics man. And of course, the special project manager is a man of all trades, not all in all the sense of it, but he's an IT specialist. He lectures there in Namibia, he's adding value there and at home. He has organized in the past the Sovereign Wealth Fund seminar for investors from diaspora for Delta State. But the question to you before we go, this is a yes or no. If you are called to serve at any capacity, will you accept back in Nigeria? Yes or no?
Yes, I will. I will,
Okay.
because I've held so many positions outside Nigeria, and this position I held were just to see how I could contribute my own quota to helping Nigerians in diaspora. So if I'm called, I will.
So Nigerian Census Commission, be aware Professor Jude Obiakosa is there. Don't waste him. He's a statistician. He can solve your problem in the twinkling of an eye. You don't need to spend 300, 200 billion, 100 billion, 50 billion to count Nigeria. We're living in 2003. There are
so many ways. There are so many ways to
find
out our population.
So we're going to call it a wrap there. We've been talking about sovereign wealth fund. It's important, how it can be done, whether it's taxable. I've told you we've been talking to Professor Jude Odiakosa Osakwe. He's in Windhoek. He's a lecturer. He's a statistician. He has PhD in informatics. He's a project manager. He has a degree in information technology. You can see he's a lecturer. He's a mentor's mentor. Don't see him smiling. He's trying to be humble, but he's a man Nigeria needs to tap into. We always bring people that say the facts. It doesn't matter which office God. We always go for the jugular. That's why at Atlanta Discourse, we just go for the facts. So we're going to call it a wrap there. That's what's going on. That's where we end it today. So Professor Osakwe, like I always tell all our fantastic guests, we will never hesitate to call you back when the need arises in future. Thank you once again. To us, viewers, thank you for your loyalty. We appreciate you always. Take care. Have a fantastic day.
Yeah, thank you.